This video is going to talk about charts in Excel. So last week we created a spreadsheet that looks something like this. We've entered in some information and we've also formatted it. If anybody doesn't have this done, I'm going to put a link to this file so you can use this as a starting point for today's class. So in here we have some information about some supplies that we're going to order. And one of the things you often want to do with Excel is to do something with your information to either make it look more visual or easier to read or just more meaningful in some way. So charts are one of the ways that you can do that. So we are going to create a chart to kind of show, what the different quantities are, so we get an idea of which ones we're ordering the most and so on. You add charts in Excel on the Insert menu, so we'll go to that next. And you'll see there's a whole section here to do with charts. Before you click any of these options though, the easiest way to create a chart is to select the information that you want to be on the chart first before you go and kind of click anything on the menu. So we are going to highlight everything from here. So click in the very first cell, kind of right in the middle of it, drag all the way down and then move your mouse across as well. So you're aiming to kind of highlight all of this information here, all the quantities for the products, but also the names of the products as well, because then they'll show up on the chart too. Okay, so once you have everything highlighted, then you can go up here and there is a small icon for each different type of chart, but this recommended charts option will just show you a kind of a pop-up box with all the charts in it. So we're going to go to that, and it's given us a few recommendations here, bar charts and so on, but you can also see all charts. So we're going to go to that now just to kind of talk about all the different types of charts that Excel has. So down the left hand side here you'll see loads of different options like column chart, line, pie, and we're going to try a few of those now today. There's also a bar chart, which is the same as a column chart but just horizontal bars instead of vertical bars. There's loads of other options then as well, which you probably won't need to use really. The most common ones I think are the first few that are up here. Within each of those then, you'll see when you click on each one, it gives you a sort of a preview of what it's going to look like, and also a few different options across the top for how it should look. So for this information, we're going to just use a column chart, and I'll just leave it as the first type there, clustered column. Within that then there's two options for how it can look. So this is one. If you roll your mouse over it, this is going to kind of give you a preview of what that chart would look like. So that's that one. Then we also have this option. I think I'm going to go for the first of those two. Okay, so I'm going to click that. You can see it's highlighted now with a grey box around the edge, so that's my selected choice, and then click OK. So that chart then should appear. And you can move the chart around by kind of rolling over it anywhere in sort of in the white space of the chart and just click to move, click and drag to move. Okay, so we'll just move that so it's sort of next to the information as opposed to over it. So you'll see there it's picked up the quantities and it's representing them as these bars. It's also, because we highlighted the names of the products, it's also picked those up as well. So those are shown up at the bottom. Once you have your chart, then there's a bunch of different things that you can do with it. So when you click on a chart, you will see this Chart Tools menu here appear. Okay, so there's a design menu and format menu. You'll notice, by the way, if you click away from the chart, those disappear. So you just need to click on the chart again to get them to come back up. So in terms of design, there's a whole load of different things you can do. On this menu here, you can do things like change colors. So yeah, actually when you only have one type of information, you'll see you only really have one color. But we'll see that the colors kind of maybe come into play more a bit on the other charts that we'll have a look at in a second. There's also chart styles here. So these are kind of like quick styles for your chart. And they do things like, background colors, and I'm going to pick this one. So you see a preview when you roll over them. To select one, then you actually click on it. So when I've clicked on that now, that's applied those changes. Yeah, so this one's got loads of stuff like little shadows in the background of the bars and lots of nice things like that. So yeah, so those are like quick styles for the chart. You can also do things on the design menu like switch the rows and the columns. That doesn't make sense in this case, but for some types of information that might work okay. You can also select data. So just to show you, this is kind of handy to know if you ever selected the wrong information. If you click on select data, you'll be able to go back and highlight again the correct information that you did want to select. So you can do that as well. Okay, and you can also change the chart type here if you need to. If you think that's actually not working too well, I can go in and change it to maybe a bar instead. Yeah, and that actually does look quite nice. So we'll stick with that one. Okay, under format then there's also more kind of specific options, like I think you can change the colors of the bars and do loads of other stuff in there. So yes, you can maybe have a play around with the format menu yourselves. One last thing then that I did want to draw your attention to with this chart is adding different chart elements. So if you go back to the chart tools design menu, add chart element is the very first option on that menu. And in there then there's loads of different options for how your I suppose it's like the extra information that you're going to display on the chart. So this is including things like the chart title, which you can see obviously we do have one, data labels, which are the little bars that kind of show up on the in this case on the end of the bars. We can do things like add grid lines, add a legend, and so on. So I'm just going to try out a few of those options now. Chart title, first of all, since we already have it there, we can change it either to none or above chart, which is the current option, or overlaid on the chart. But I'm going to leave it as it is. I think that was actually a good choice. So above chart. We can obviously then also change it to something that's kind of meaningful to our chart. So you click into it, highlight what's there, and press backspace or delete on your keyboard to get rid of that, and you can type your own title in there then. So I'm going to call it quantity ordered or something like that anyway. Yeah, quantity ordered. Okay. Some other things I might want to add to this chart, like by selecting the chart style, it's already added data labels and so on. So I might just add, maybe grid lines or something else just to show you that. So grid lines are just extra lines that you can add to your chart. We'll have a look at a couple of the other chart elements in the next couple of examples that I'm going to show you. But that's essentially, adding that chart. Okay, so in Excel, we often have a number of different sheets. So last week we just worked with one sheet. You might notice that down here there's a couple of other sheets. So there's normally, I think, 3 sheets when you start a new blank workbook. So on sheet 2 I have some more information, on sheet 3 I have some more information as well. And you can have as many of these different sheets within the same file as you want. If you don't have any extra sheets, you can add more by clicking this plus button. So I can add an extra one here. And I can also rename them then by clicking on them. So if I double click on sheet 1 here, I can change this one to be order sheet or something like that. So I know then by looking at that sheet that, that's the stuff to do with the order. This one here, I'm going to just show you an example of some grades. So you can try this out yourselves if you want. You don't necessarily have to. There's an exercise to do that has some other things for you to do, but you can try this one out yourselves if you want. So with these grades here, I'm just going to show you an example of a pie chart. Okay, so again, I'm going to highlight all the information that I want to include on the chart. So in here, I'm going to go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and it is actually recommending a pie chart. So I'm just going to click that, click OK, and so this is a pie chart. On here then I can do things like we did before, add some maybe chart titles. And sometimes, yeah, if you're adding a chart title, you might need to right click and go to edit text to be able to actually add the text in there. Call that grades. We can add a legend. So legends become more useful when you have a few categories of information. So in this case, you can choose where you're going to put it, right, top, left or bottom. I'm going to just go with right. So this is going to tell us then which colour relates to which different grade. So the A's are blue, the B's are red, and so on. And then data labels, just to show you how to add those, since with the other one the chart styles bit kind of did it for us. With data labels, you can choose exactly where you want them to show up. Okay, so either outside at the end, inside at the end, in the center, or wherever you think they look best. Okay. And quickly then I'm just going to also show you a line chart. Okay, so actually, sorry, no, I'm going to call that sales instead. So this one, as you can see, is sales, and it's sales in a few different regions over a few different years. So for this one, I'll go to recommended charts again, and it's actually just recommending either bar or column, but I'm going to go to all charts and select a line, and then choose. So within the line, there's a few different options. I'm just going to go with the first one there and click OK. So this type of chart is a good option if you have information that's kind of ongoing over time. It's a good one for showing that kind of trends over time, I suppose. With the chart, by the way, if you have extra space, you can resize them. So if you roll over one of the corner dots there, you'll see you can click and drag to make your chart a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is actually, it's done a really good job of picking up like my years. It shows my years in the legend, and it also has my kind of different regions across here. This is maybe a case where I would want to switch the row and the column. So I probably want the Waterford sales, Carlo, and each those to be the different lines, and the years to be kind of the timeline, if that makes sense. So it's showing over 2017, for example, Waterford, the sales went up a bit in 2018 and down a bit in 2019. Okay, and lastly with that one, I might just add a chart title as well. Sales 2019. Okay. So that's an example of 3 different types of charts. So we've seen there a column and bar as well, because we switched to bar. Those are very similar to one another. We've seen a pie chart and also a line chart as well. So those are all kind of the most common ones, and also the most common things you might want to do with them, like changing the colors, the chart styles, and adding the different elements. So you can work away now on the exercise that's there to just kind of explain what you need to do. You're going to start off with the order spreadsheet, which is this sheet. And like I said, if you don't have that file, you can download that file as a starting point. You're going to add a new sheet, and you can call that chart 1 and then type in this information into it, and then you're going to create a chart from that, a column chart. Okay, so again, highlight all the information first and then create your column chart. It's also asking you to add some specific labels and a chart title and so on. And then there's another couple of ones for you to try as well. So you're going to add another sheet for this one, enter this information and create a chart. And I'll just let you choose yourselves what kind of chart you think is best for that information. And lastly then this information. So again, add another sheet, type in this information, and then you can create a chart from that as well. So just practice yourselves with charts, try out all the different settings that I showed in this video. Yeah, and I hope you get on okay with it. Okay.